Cheers, guys. Epix911, welcome to the Elitist Geek. VR news for Saturday, September 10th, 2016. And you know it's Saturday when the mighty 1-liter beer stein is in full effect. Oh, yes, it is. Let's get into some preamble, guys, and then let's get into the news. So the first little bit concerns a game that I showed in the Quick Look series yesterday called Gnomes and Goblins. And oh my God, guys, was that awesome. And I pretty much said it at the time. Here's a quick follow-up on that because some of you had questions on it. Kind of the main question was, what would I consider it, game or experience? You can see in the description of the video, I wasn't sure myself. I believe I put game/experience when I uploaded it. That didn't change until this morning. The conclusion that I came to is, who cares? It's awesome. And here's why. And John, whatever you are doing, eating, drinking, keep doing it, because the development team that's working to make your vision a reality, the communication is good. It is working. Keep doing that. It's basically nailing, that demo nailed all the points you talked about when you described what the magic of VR was for you. So definitely conveyed in that, and I cannot wait until the full version. But just really quickly, guys, what I loved about it was, and look, you could make arguments for it being a game. Beginning, middle, end, linear progression. You could also make the argument the other way around, right? But to me, that's all irrelevant because it was so much fun. And when you see me interacting with the gnome, to me, it felt almost as real as if I was interacting with my pet cat. Like, that's kind of the order of magnitude for me. I think that comes across in the video because that was all a natural reaction. I had not experienced that game. That was my first, or experience, again, whatever the hell you want to call it. That was my first run through with it. And it also at times wasn't like I was interacting with a pet cat, but like I was interacting with a small human toddler, like a human child. And it was just amazingly, amazingly immersive on that front. When the character grabs the acorn from you, for example, and scurries off, the sound effects for that are awesome. The set pieces, literally, you can open all the little windows, and I believe I did that with a couple of them. You can swing open the doors, which he'll close again, which is a cool little touch. But you can look right inside, and the detail is just, it's mind-blowing. Yeah, it's a bit on the cartoony side, but cartoony in the best possible fantasy/sci-fi way. Really good job on conveying that fantasy location. Like, it felt equal parts Gulliver's Travels, real life, kind of all mixed into one bucket. But the character definitely made it. So yeah, ultimately, game experience, who cares? It was awesome. And I cannot wait for the full version, because what it also did, it kind of made me rethink things. The first being my opinion on short experiences. Now, I still stand behind, my statement that final VR releases, there needs to be some meat and substance there. They're not going to be able to hide behind multiple 5 to 10 minute releases. Where it does work so well is in a demo like this one that I tried out yesterday, because they set out to whet people's appetite for the full version, and I think they nailed it. And if you haven't tried it, strongly urge you to try it. It's so short and it doesn't look like much, but that's the subtlety of VR. Trying it can come across as so different. So give it a shot. I can't wait for the full version, and I'll definitely be showing that when it comes out. The next little bit of preamble has to do with the Sony PlayStation 4. And it's probably my criticism, because I do touch on it, is not going to be probably where you think it will be. The obvious kind of low-hanging negative fruit, right, would be the fact that they're not supporting their own technology, the physical 4K Blu-ray media. Andrew went as far from Sony to explain why, and I do take him at his word. And he basically summed it up as follows, that the market is moving towards streaming. They're moving away from that. And I can appreciate their being cautious, because look at the gong show that was the PS4 and Xbox One launch, right? In terms of, you know, consumer outcry. People were literally pissed off that they wouldn't be able to use physical media. And a lot of it was blown out, blown up out of proportion. I think Sony did a really good job at the time. Microsoft, not so much at the time in terms of, putting people's fears to kind of rest. Look, in the PC world, Valve went about it in some ways very subtly, in other ways very hammer of Thor in terms of how they got us to buy in a lot of, and really without our agreeing to it, to digital content, streaming, gaming, cloud-based. It just happened so organically and so kind of, on one hand, slow, on the other hand, quick, that before we knew it, here we are, the majority of our games on Steam are digital. Really, the only physical PC games that I have anymore are the ones for collector's editions. Like if I'm doing a Kickstarter support, right? To get stuff like the mighty Skyrim Dragon, which is one of my favorite pieces of kit, and I don't want to drop it. It's stuff like that. Having the box shrink wrapped on my shelf. Just all the kind of uber nerdy stuff. But I'm okay. And I'm one of those guys who said, I hope they never go pure digital. And I'm okay with that. So the reality is Sony and Microsoft are moving that way. They're just being upfront about it. Microsoft, yeah, there's irony in there. They are supporting it. But ultimately, how many people are actually really going to use it? Now, for me, it's always choice. I like having the choice of whether I want to or not. So I get that part of the argument too. And that's not my biggest beef. You know what my biggest beef is, guys? And like I said, not the low-hanging fruit. It's the power. It is ultimately woefully underpowered. They are already relying so heavily, they being Sony, on reprojection. I worry that any more, and the quality of the VR experience is going to suffer. Because it's one thing to lower your polygons, lower the textures, but if you got to take additional shortcuts, that's when you really can start impacting stuff. And this is such a critical stage of VR's evolution. We need Sony to succeed, and that's the part that worries me. The performance side, just simply, is it going to be able to power it? Now, obviously, they're testing this behind the scenes, but I really, at the end of the day, wish they would have gone with Scorpio-type power rather than, what they did. It's just, I just don't get the comfort that it's going to be enough. And they're going to, again, have to lean so heavily on reprojection. So we'll see. I hope I'm wrong on that, but I do have a feeling it's going to have an impact. And just, I wish they would have gone more robust on the performance side of things. But is it too late? I don't know. It depends on when they plan to launch. But my hope would be that they try to get some more power in that unit, even if it means waiting, another quarter or two. Time it with Microsoft's launch. Whatever you can come up with, take it. That would be my hope. Will it happen? Probably not. They go by the beat of their own drum, right? But anyways, let's get into some more optimistic stuff, guys. Star Wars. Star Wars, right up there with Star Trek. Actually, it was my first sci-fi that I fell in love with, was Star Wars. Seeing the original in the movie theaters, having all the freaking toys, not letting my buddies move the arms too much because it would loosen them, and after a while they couldn't stand up properly, the legs. Just being able to create all those little mini adventures, turning my white duvet cover into Hoth Ice Planet, and for Empire Strikes Back. All of that was just so freaking awesome for me as a kid with Star Wars. So when I heard this story, I had to talk about it, I had to look into it, and I even downloaded it. What the hell am I talking about? It's Mos Eisley. And Docking Station 94, it's the Cantina, it's all of that put together. And I can't wait after this video to try it. So basically, John Lewis, who is an employee, he's an artist as well, an employee at Obsidian Entertainment, thought that he would be able to, for himself, recreate, because he'd always wondered, well, how does the Cantina kind of interface with the docking stations? What's the scale? The newer movies have done a good job on showing us more of that, but there were a lot of questions. It almost seems like the more questions you answered, the more questions you raise, right? As a kind of a side effect of that. So what he did was set out to create that using Unreal Engine 4, which, with the latest few updates is VR friendly, and recreate that so end consumers could walk through the Cantina, check out the ships in the docking stations. Yes, I downloaded it. Yes, I'm going to try it after this video, and yes, I'm going to share it with you guys. But the details of the screenshots that you guys are probably seeing, it just staggering levels of detail. For example, the Millennium Falcon, 700,000 triangles, which is huge. The surrounding set uses 500,000 only. I say that quote unquote in comparison. That is a massive sign of complexity for the polygons to have that many triangles. So, man, I can't wait to try that and just be able to walk around, because I had even the set. There was a Cantina Star Wars toy set, which unfortunately long lost, damaged. I think my youngest brother ended up damaging it beyond repair. But hey, can't wait to see it. Can't wait to try it. And hopefully, like I said, I will have that up later today. So kind of still on the sci-fi side, but this time the other guys, Star Trek. And just an update on the whole bridge adventure. So one of the things that these guys, Ubisoft, is doing with Star Trek Bridge Crew is giving you the ability to experience life on the bridge, right? Take orders, give orders, interact with people, friends. And that's where I think, yesterday's talk about it not being family friendly. I can't think of a more fun experience, especially with my family, because like me, they are just as big sci-fi geeks, Star Trek as well. So the three of us being able to experience that in VR, that would be amazing. And yeah, so some of the new stuff that's coming out on that has to do with a trailer. And I'm going to link that trailer below. But what it shows is some real life Star Trek actors. And I know this is a bit of an older one, but what I wanted to share is some of the added footage that they've added surrounding LeVar. And he's the Rainbow Reader. We all know him from childhood, but he's also Geordi on Star Trek. And he is super passionate about this, which I think is really, really going to help sell that game, as an experience, whatever you want to label it. But you could see genuine enthusiasm. And demographically, I know my audience is about 97% male, and I do not mean this as disrespectful to the 3% of you that are females, but Jerry Ryan, who was 7 of 9, well, I always called her, and remember, I was young and, hormonal and all that. To me and my buddies, she wasn't 7 of 9, she was chest of 9. Don't need to get into the why on that. You can use your imagination. But any ladies watching this, like I said, I was young. very young at the time. And anyways, it looks like a fun family experience. That's why I bring it up again. I forgot to mention that yesterday. It just looks like, whether it's buddies or family, it's going to unleash possibilities that only virtual reality can lend to a social experience. So can't wait to try that, because that literally would fly in the face of most of Nintendo's concerns with VR. So hopefully we see that soon. Next story has to do with Nashville. Now, Nashville is obviously most known for country music, right? Dolly Parton and you name it. Now, I'm not a huge country music fan. In fact, I don't like country music at all, but I'm okay with your right to listen to it and all of that. But what I do know about Nashville, being a Canadian, being as hockey crazy as Canadians come, is how successful Nashville has been as an NHL city. And it doesn't seem to matter who you talk to, but anyone who's experienced NHL hockey in Nashville says the crowd is amazing, the experience is amazing. So where am I going with this? Well, there's a story from Upload VR that has to do with a real estate mogul, and his name is Tony Giarratana, I think is his full name, who used a planetarium to basically project and immerse the audience into his latest real estate project, which will be the second tallest building in the downtown Nashville skyline. And just to give some background to why this is so cool. So you're going into a planetarium. People are going to be able to put either a Vive or a Rift on their head, check out the building, walk around, the base of it, look up, see it from a distance, all that type of VR stuff. That's going to be amazing. Then, to top it off, you're going to be able to sit in the planetarium and see the same thing, but this time almost like a real-life 360 video that you are actually seeing live, right? Never even thought of that, but yeah, planetariums would be awesome for 360 content to kind of, create that skyline where you're kind of in the middle of it and seeing it rotate around you. So very cool idea to use old technology and make it relevant. So I wish that was nearby. That's definitely something I would want to check out. But yeah, because the statistic was staggering to me. Like, I know it from hockey. Like I said, a lot of Canadians know about the success of Nashville's and their hockey team. But what I didn't know is how big and how crazy the growth has been in the downtown. 40% more buildings in the skyline since 2012. That is huge. That's just massive, massive development for a downtown core. And, my home city here, Vancouver, has gone through a lot since Expo, but holy Hannah, 40% in 4 years. That's absolutely crazy. So yeah, check that out. Link is below. And just a neat, I thought a neat use of virtual reality to show real estate. Next story has to do with winning your own virtual reality headset. Now, I'm usually very cautious about stories like this, whether they're scams or not. I have a specific internet email address that I use for anything I do online, because if it ever got hacked, there's really nothing in there, right? And it does see a lot of spam. It would be my personal email address. It would represent what it would look like if I did all of that on it, right? So keeping that separate, I would urge you, if you're going to take a look at the link, and I'll describe it first, that you have a secondary email address, something specifically for when you do online stuff, right? But apparently this contest is going to allow the winner to choose either a Rift or a Vive. And now they don't get into a lot of details. There should be a screenshot up right now that explains kind of the where and the how, but you're basically adding some information and then submitting, and then it's going to be raffle style. Now, me personally, not into gambling. Yeah, I realize I'm going to Vegas and I'm not into gambling, but we're going for other reasons too, sightseeing, etc. But every time my wife and I, like in real life, we support a children's hospital. They do a lottery every year, and the fantasy's kind of nice, but supposedly it's a 1 in 6 chance of winning, quote unquote, something, which could be movie passes, whatever. And after 20 years, I've never won. So not only am I not a guy who's into gambling, I'm a horrible gambler and have a horrible track record. So anyways, I'm going to include it. Check it out. Haven't dug into it that deep. It doesn't appear to be a scam or anything like that. But if you find something or hear something, let me know. I can quickly annotate it. I just include it because, hey, you never know. You can't win if you don't sign up. And for those of you who may be hard for cash, hey, despite the odds, it could be a way to get either a Rift or a Vive. So check it out. And then if you do, like I said, if you find out something bad about it, please let me know so I can get out an annotation or a clarification. The last story has to do with Quark VR, a company that I reported on last month. I believe it was an Upload VR, Road to VR article. This one is coming from the Verge.com, just offering an update on that and what they're trying to do is they're working with Valve to create a wireless method of using your Vive, right? To do away with that cable. Now, what they propose, now this is a Zim 4, and for those of you who don't know what this is, it allows you to use mouse and keyboard, because personally when I play FPS, I like mouse and keyboard. Now, I'm talking single player. It could be, put console users at a disadvantage if they're using a gamepad. So I personally just use it for single player fun. Don't do a lot of the online stuff using it. But the point being, what their hope is, Quark VR, and they say they're close. The biggest thing has been the obvious challenges of latency, right? Is to have a unit about this size on your waist with a cable running from it to your HMD, and that would take care of the rest. So you could do away with the backpack style. You could do away with the big bulky cable on the floor. This is one I am definitely going to keep following with some interest, guys, because it could go off the rails, very quick. I have no doubt this is what we're moving towards. This will be the future. It just may not be this device. I kind of hope it is. I wish them all the luck in the world, because I would be the first person in line if I could do away with the cable, especially that damn Vive cable, because of its quote-unquote uniqueness. We don't have to get into more. So yeah, Quark VR, I'll have the link here, but they've just got some updates, and in summary, that update is essentially that they hope to have their prototype ready at the end of the calendar year. So by the end of this calendar year, not the next one. So that is one that I am super stoked about and will follow very, very closely. All right, guys, off to try that Star Wars one. I can't wait, and I will share that up on the channel. As always, guys, cheers, and catch you on the VR flip side.